So I thought with how much Dicey Dungeon I've been playing lately, I thought it would be cute to use the game as background footage for this semi-game and chill. But when I tried to take the recording from Steam and put it into the video editor, it went kind of like this. And with how I just want to get the video out, I figured it'd be easier just to add music after the fact than to try to re-record something. So that's why there's no game audio for Dicey Dungeon. Hopefully you all enjoy it nevertheless. Greeting interwebs, this is Jackie K. I'm hesitant to even call this a game and chill, but I figured while I had the mic out to record some post-commentary for Pokemon Emerald Rogue, I might as well at least give you a quick update of channel plans for the month. The short answer is there isn't any, and I'm just uploading things as I finish them. I'm trying to finish all my loose ends from previous projects, so I can reevaluate my hobbies and prioritize my spare time going forward. I'll get more into that later, but for right now I want to talk about the big project that I've recently finished. As you may know, I've been working on and off for the past couple years on a mod for Golden Sun, a version 2 of Dawn Jin. Though it's a big enough update that I was hesitant to even call it an update and just label it more as a new mod altogether. I'll be sure to include a video card with a link to the trailer if you're interested in learning more about that. But yeah, preparing that for release has kind of been consuming my life for the past couple months, and now that it's finally out there in the world, I've been putting a lot more focus on things on the game development side. I've been experimenting a lot more with Got It, and putting together a little platformer to not only go through tutorials, but experiment around and branch my knowledge out in my own way. I've definitely talked about it in the past on previous Game and Chills, but that's definitely been my main focus as of late. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. That's kind of what I was alluding to with the whole finishing up loose ends so I can reevaluate my priorities, because as of right this second, I do still have interest in making videos. I just have a lot more interest in continuing my experimentation and Got It. Making games has been the long-term goal of my life since childhood. Just the past 12 years I kind of went on a little bit of a detour with getting into YouTube and all that. Heck, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only reason I ever got into modding was because I kept running into hurdles left and right with pursuing my goals of game development, to the point where it felt like messing around with things like Dawn Jin and the Paper Mario projects I did in the past was the only way I'd be able to actually go anywhere in game design development. Because the only reason I was able to get into making unofficial games like Dawn Jin in the first place was because the UI tools for Golden Sun modding were so straightforward in the first place, even if they do have their own hurdles. So now that I've built up my confidence with programming again, messing around in unofficial games gets to be less and less desirable when I can invest that time into my more original ambitions. Not to say that my Golden Sun modding days are over quite yet. They should be, but I do have the itch in the back of my mind to maybe possibly expand Dawn Jin into Lost Age, partly out of obligation, partly because I think it might be fun. I don't want to commit to a yes or no until I've had a little more time to sort out these thoughts, but I want to throw that out there because I've definitely seen my interest in smaller Golden Sun projects completely wane out of existence. So going forward, I want to push away from modding and more towards development with Got It and similar engines, with the exception of Dawn Jin and possibly a Lost Age expansion to it. Lost Age is a much bigger game, so I see the mod being much less ambitious than what I did for Dawn Jin in Golden Sun 1, so just keep that much in mind. The older I get, the more I want to prioritize pushing my more original stories, characters, and ideas out in some shape or form beyond just in my head, before I get too old to really do it to the level I desire. I'm sorry, I'm just struggling to find the best way to phrase these thoughts without coming off too old, because I'm not that old. Like, I'm not anywhere close to being an old man, but I do feel like a lot of the successful people in life are already much younger than I am. I just spend a lot more time thinking about my mortality than I like to admit. And I only stopped going down this path of game development because my college experience kind of dissuaded me both from how overwhelming the work of trying to learn to be a game developer was, but even more so because of learning of how terrible the industry is. When I was in college, indie development was only just starting to become a thing. Like, I graduated from college before Undertale even came out. Like, the original release of Braid was only just starting to become a thing, if any of you even know what the game Braid is. Anyways, people were only just starting to talk about Braid when I was in college, if that gives you an indication of just where the game industry was around the time that I was in college and why that might have discouraged me from pursuing the career further. I hate to break it to the people that are only just starting to learn these past couple years how terrible the game industry was. Yeah, I was kind of aware that it was kind of terrible even back when I was in college, let's just say somewhere between 2008 and 2010. I don't even recall if Steam was a thing back then. Surely it was, but the concept of an indie developer or a single person or two just making their own game and releasing it on Steam was still a novel concept if it even existed back then. Let alone things like social media or Kickstarter to help developers that would have otherwise been brushed aside get a little more time in the spotlight and or get the funding they need to get their ideas off the ground. So between all that on the indie scene being practically non-existent yet, and the AAA industry being something I wanted absolutely nothing to do with, my dreams of game design did not seem realistic at the time. So I transferred majors and just got a generic random media degree instead. Okay, that was a bit of a tangent, but I just needed to emphasize just how much has changed since I kinda gave up on game design to finally inspire me to get back into it. And it was important to bring up on the YouTube end of things because I'm not sure if you know, but making games is very time consuming. Especially when you're doing it all by yourself, on top of a full-time job. And I'm still trying to figure out where YouTube fits in this new emerging element of my life. Maybe it's time to move on from playthroughs and the stuff I usually do on YouTube, and at most use the channel to help push me further down the game design path that I desire. Maybe there's room for both in my life. I still am trying to figure that out, and I feel like I really gotta tie up the loose ends like the playthroughs that I've started before I can really say for sure. I'd love to do both, I just don't know how realistic it is, and I'm definitely not going back to focusing exclusively on YouTube when it just feels like I'm finally finding the footing towards the long-term dreams I've had. Maybe I can find a middle ground through streaming, maybe not. I am recording on a Saturday, so if I'm feeling up to it later tonight I might set up OBS and live stream Legends Arceus or something just to try to get back into a routine, even if I gotta do every other week instead of every week. I just gave up trying to actually commit to a time frame because streaming is hard for me, at least like starting a stream. If you couldn't already tell, I've always been busy, so I have a hard time putting time aside to do something like it, and I'm not exactly the most sociable person, so that makes it even easier to put off. Usually once I'm live, I have a good time. It's just getting to that point. We'll see, no promises with streaming, but maybe I can shoot towards a goal of being more consistent with streaming, even if it's something I only do every other week, or even once a month. I'm just not ready to commit to a specific goal right now. If nothing else, hopefully I can at the very least finish editing Emerald Rogue and those last two Legends ZA videos that I recorded voiceover forever ago but never got around to editing. Even if it takes to January to getting them out, if I can at least get them all edited before the end of the year. I'm not feeling totally confident in that right now, but that feels at least realistic enough to shoot towards as a goal for the month. Hopefully I'm not talking in circles too much. I kinda lost track of what I've already mentioned after going on that whole tangent about game design and all that. So I'm just gonna wrap things up here. If I know something major I miss in editing, I guess I could always add extra post commentary about it. So thank you all for tuning in for this update video, borderlining an actual game and chill. much longer than I was intending. And hopefully I'll see you next month with a little bit more organized with Jacket K. I don't want to make promises because I feel like I've said that the previous couple months. Maybe if I say it enough times though, and slowly work towards it, I'll eventually become a more organized Jacket K. Until then though, take care.